glad everybody's here. All right, so we're going to get the call started. And as always, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just be flipping between some of our feeds here to see if anybody's making comments or what they're saying. And really, I do love that people can chime in on the chats because it's important for, for us to hear from, from what everybody's feeling and seeing and doing and experiencing, whether it's about women, freedom, transformation, whatever it is. So feel free to put yourselves in the chat, where you're from, what you're doing, say hello. And I'm excited to be here today and with everybody, what we're going to be talking about. So I'm just going to introduce myself real quick. And my name is Sherinata, and I am the founder of Build Your Own Brilliant Sisterhood Network and a life coach strategist. And I love to call myself a positive change enthusiast or positive change activist for humanity, because we certainly need positive changes in this world, no matter what's happening, who's in office, whatever it is. We always need to keep moving forward, creating positive changes. And we can't stay where we were in the past. We need to move forward into the future. So I think that being a life coach strategist helps with this a lot, as well as the other company I do have, which I love to talk about also, is a passion of mine, which is Corellia Creations. And that is where you find the best handmade and affordable EMF radiation protection for families so you can live healthier in a digital world. And that is what we need so much right now, because we are all behind our technology. So with that being said, and no further ado, this is so exciting because I have with me three amazing women who I love dearly. And I think that this is going to be a great conversation, because today we are talking about not just women, but I think it's women, freedom, and diversity. And I think it's, I've been very emotional the last couple weeks, which many of us have all been experiencing emotional turmoil, ups and downs. And I think it's about, what's happening in politics, what's happening in the world around us. And honestly, this has been happening. Nothing's changed. We all have been feeling ups and downs for lifetimes with politics. And people get very passionate about it. But it's really, I think what came to me recently is that, yes, we have a vice president that we just, voted in. And although there's still, some people are like, we don't know if we're voted them in or not, it's irrelevant, because so far right now, at this moment, in this very moment right now, Kamala Harris is voted in. And I celebrate that. I celebrate that no matter who would have been vice president at this moment. As a woman, I think that we have to embrace that we have, voted somebody in.
Crossed a barrier.
As a democracy to a woman. And I think that's a huge, huge celebration. And I think that not just because she's a woman, but, she's diversified in many ways. And I think that means so much, because she comes from a, mixed parents, biracial, just everything about her. And, she's married to a Jewish man. I think that it just gives me goosebumps everywhere, because I think that this is so, so important for our world to come together. And we are leaders. We are leaders. People watch us and in what we do to change the world. And they always have, and they always will. And sometimes we're behind and we catch up to the Europeans. Sometimes they're leading it, but then sometimes we're leading it. But I think that, these two worlds, when we meet together, we create this ripple effect for the third world and all the other worlds that really, truly need it. So
I think the most important thing here is that the reason she was elected is because women got that vote for her. They got that. It was the work that women did on the ground, boots on, especially in Georgia, because I'm with this website in Georgia where the women they're all activists, and they've done a lot of work. And that Stacey Abrams, she's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great effort.
Oh
Great
my
heart.
goodness, yeah.
And
And you hear that? I heard that woman speak while we were in a town square in Dahlonega, Georgia, and going around this town square was a bunch of people in pickup trucks blowing their horns and protesting her, and
Mhm.
she didn't even blink.
Good for her.
Her
good
one
for
bit.
her.
She kept her composure, and you could just feel her strength.
I
I
love
mean, being
that.
around her, you feel that strength. She's
Exactly.
awesome. Yeah.
So, well, I would like to, even though you already started talking. However, I still would like to do introductions. And I know this is my mom, and I
Hi,
get my
Mom.
mouth from her mouth. The mouths of babes to the mouths of mothers. And so this is my mom, Ginny Valletti, and I'm so excited because she has come out of the world into Zoom to, I've talked about her for so long, to so many people know you, Mom, but they don't know you. They've never seen you. So here you are, and I brought you onto this moment, Yelly. And Marjorie, so my mom has been an activist for many, many years, and she has spoken up, and she has really, I think I know I am who I am today because of who, she raised me as a woman and growing up. And I think that's the biggest thing is the generational healing and transformation that we need as a family, because it's all about family. And as we teach by example. So there's some things that we did growing up, standing in line with picketing and this and that, because it was important for us to speak up. And as scared as I was, and I'm, when I was younger, to do all this stuff and to speak up, I'm finally, the last 10 years, little by little, I have been so much more transparent with things I can talk about now than I used to, because it's all a practice of courage and knowing that you're in an area of people who can embrace you. That's important. So and people who love you for speaking up through kindness is the most important thing. So that's what I learned from my mom. So I will be asking her questions today, and Ginny Valletti, and so excited for that because she actually has written books in the past. She's still writing books now, and she's brilliant. We also have Marjorie Raymore. Marjorie has been on my calls before. She is like my other mother, and they are just about like the same exact ages. And we have, Jamaican descent. She is just, and my mom, how much I feel like I'm from the islands. You know how I am about that. I was like always like the one that was like, I'm from the islands. That's who I am, and when I was younger, I always said I wanted a little black baby of my own to hold and I just like, that's all I ever wanted. I don't have one, but I feel like it doesn't matter because it's all, any child is that comes into my life, I embrace. And so I think Marjorie, we probably have that connection someplace, somewhere.
Island spirit connection,
Completely.
right?
Yep.
Completely.
Yep.
Yes. And she is an inspiration. I learned from her for spirituality as well. So I really and the reason I wanted to invite I call it elders, because we have the elders, we have the middle, then we have the younger generation. And right now we're passing the torch. And the two of you have seen in the last 50 years what has happened with diversity, what has happened with women, what has happened around the world. And I want you to share some of your highs and lows, and of women equality and freedom, and what it means to you in the last 50 years to now, and where you think we can go with it. And then also Lee Aloni, a dear friend of mine, neighbor as well. We've known each other for many, many years, and you are politically very, very involved. You can share who you're related to if you like when it's your turn. It's up to you. And, very involved in the Jewish communities, but everywhere, bringing people together is your big thing, not just in our country, but around the world. Right?
My number.
So that's why I really wanted you here too. And I'm glad you showed up. So, so with that being said, and no further ado, I definitely want to, we're going to start with, well, actually, I guess, Mom, I'm sure you want to go. I'm going to call you Mom, but even Ginny, I know you're already biting at
Call
the.
me Pila.
She's the racehorse. Like,
Mila, what's Mila?
I have to say, and really today it's about for everybody. I want you to, post how you're feeling if you're understanding what we're talking about. I want you to get real and in what you're experiencing, in what you have experienced. And if I don't see the notes coming through, like I always say, I will go back and I go back and I always answer them. So go ahead in the chat. And I think it's for all of us who are on this call it's about being open-minded. This is not about politics at all. It's not at all about politics. It's about, freedom and diversity, equality for women, of color and not of color, and for not just us in America, but what it relates to us around the world of human dignity and gender equality, domestic violence, success in the workplace, female CEOs, human trafficking, which we know women are the targets of that, education, lack of, and how we can prosper, of having diversity in the workplace, and just, and how, who we are, because we know that gender equality and the microaggressions that are happening that are subset with inside of us, we don't even realize what's triggering us sometimes, or other people, is generational. And it's just about education. So let's get this conversation started. And Mom, I'm going to give it to you. We'll give you like 5-10 minutes to what comes up for you. And remember, I might go like this every now and
Oh,
then.
yeah. Okay. Well,
Okay. Let's hear it. Let's get this pot stirred, and
yeah.
and to be kind, and we're not pointing fingers. That's not what it's about, but
No.
it's about
No, the
bringing
problem isn't the lack of goodness in the world. It's the lack of awareness that we have that goodness within us and that we're capable of carrying that torch forward. And moms for a long time were just totally suppressed. And all that gets passed on to through the family, through traits and whatever. But now they're finding that it's deeper than that. And I'll give some websites and that kind of point to this and have teaching tools in them. But one of the things, my favorite guy, and Sherry knows him, that we got to meet, Bruce Lipton, who's a DNA scientist, researcher, all this kind of stuff. We heard him speak in Canada back in, I think, 2004 or 5 already. And he was talking about epigenetics. And epigenetics are part of the DNA that carry the traits of the family going way back, who knows how far back and forward. And these things are in you. And we think, okay, we're aligned with the stars. Certain people, personalities have certain traits, astrologically speaking, we all agree to that. But when it comes to epigenetics, people look at it and they say, what the heck are you talking about? But what you're talking about is sometimes these bursts of angers or these depressions or this aggressiveness that you carry and you don't know why. You just think that's who you are. And it might be who you are. And we may not be responsible for the way that we were birthed as children, but we're responsible for how we react to life now. And every moment, we have to take that responsibility and we have to do something with it. And women are doing more with it than men because women are good communicators. And women, basically, because they have children, we're just more loving and giving and caring and generous and kind. That is a trait that's been carried on since, who knows, maybe Eve, I don't know, but it goes way, way back. But now to get rid of some of these traits and this stuff that is in our DNA, how do we do that? I'm going to point people to a book that I'm outlining now. And can you see it? It's called Letting Go. And it's by Dr. David Hawkins. And he wrote a book back in 2012. No, back in, I think, 2005, called Power versus Force. And he's talking about the power, how to have that power inside you so you don't have to force things to happen in your life. So you don't have to force yourself to be happy. You don't have to force yourself not to be depressed. You know, to open doors, to have, to walk the path that you want to walk. You don't have to force that. It happens because of you changing who you are inside. And this book, Letting Go, Power versus Force, kind of describes this whole scenario. And the book, Letting Go, is how to do that. And it's an excellent book. And a little bit about him, David Hawkins, is that he is this, he's got this PhD psychologist type of guy, very clinical. And he has had so much success with this letting go inside. And it's something that you do yourself, and you do it because when these emotions come up, you be aware of everything that you're doing. You may not know why, but you just decide, am I going to keep this feeling this way? Am I going to keep this anger, or am I going to let go of it? Am I going to let it control me, or am I going to control it and just get rid of it from my life? So you're not driven by these emotions any longer, and the freedom that you feel from that and the happiness that you give to the world and the happiness that you receive back is amazing. It gives you this internal power that that we describe as multisensory, because we are multisensory. We're not 5 sensory human beings, but we think we are. We were raised that way, and science tells us that we're these 5 sensory human beings, but we're so much more than that. And once we clear out all this stuff, we learn that, we feel it, we know it. And I've only been doing this. I mean, I've been working on myself for 30 years, Sherry, 40 years. Yeah, something like that. How old are you? But anyway, for a long, long time. But this is this book, this Letting Go, is the fastest way to do it.
Well, I want to, I love the idea because it is all about healing. And I think that people can find so many ways to heal, and it's fearful to heal because they're scared of what's going to come out for them. But you know what, I definitely, you know, I think that healing is the only way, through our own personal healing of forgiveness and understanding and compassion and empathy, is how we're going to heal the wounds. And people, like, as we say, are happy being miserable, right? And so they don't even realize how they're acting or reacting in a situation. Like, we don't even know subconsciously that we have microaggression because, you know, it's just what we're used to doing as human beings when we're in, like, you could be in a company, how you're talking to a woman, or, you know, if it's a Black woman, maybe, you know, I was listening to a conversation um, on Trish Carr's Sister to Sister and her podcast, and it was quite incredible what, you know, women have been experiencing throughout the years. And, you know, she was a Black woman. So I would like to also I'd like you to share, like, what you have seen and what you have witnessed, or what you have come through to this day, and how maybe you've seen, like, where we can go to with it. I think the go-to is the healing, and that there are so many ways, and to reach out to people and to find the books, because this stuff works. But we need to find out, like, what is it that we can celebrate in women today, in our freedom and in our equality? And what have you experienced yourself that you think can be a great shift to carry the torch for others?
Well, Sherry knows that I started with sexuality back in the days of AIDS, and back in '93, I had a partner, a woman that she was an amazing woman, and we taught self-sexuality so that women just didn't have to be dependent on men, and that we taught safe sex. And it was a very fun book, but a very learning book. And it was a tool to help women gain their confidence in themselves and control their own sexuality and not allow it to be controlled by other people and by their feelings, to take charge of that. And that's just part of this inner process that we go to, because we create a story from when we're children about ourselves, and we tend to believe it. And sometimes it's not a really good story, it's a sad story. And we grow up with that story, but we're the authors of it. We can change it. We have to know that.
Yeah.
History,
And
his story, and her story.
All right.
Lee, did you
Right.
want to chime in with something?
I do actually, about, she hit on the children. To that point, it starts in childhood, and, kids need to be lifted up. They need to have the proper guidance. They have to have good role models around them. It's so important, especially for girls, I mean, for boys too. I've raised 3 sons, so yes, for boys too, but we're talking about women today. So, these girls are, they have more power now. It's from generation to generation, and it's so different than from when we were kids, and certainly from when Marjorie and Jeannie were children, rather. And we need to continue building on this. Look where we've come. Look at Kamala Harris. She's there. She's VP elect, and that was not an easy challenge. A few women have tried, and they couldn't break the glass ceiling, and it's not just the women. Well, it's the women impressing the men too, or making the men evolve. Look what Joe Biden did. He chose a woman. He chose a woman of color. He chose a woman from different cultures, different religious backgrounds. I mean, that woman is a Heinz 57. I think she checks every box.
I know.
Yeah. So and it impressed me so much that he did that. And other men think this way of women too, to put them, to help them, to raise them, to give them credit, to be lifted to where we need to be, equal.
Mhm. Exactly.
Not above, not below, beside and equal. And your mom said Adam and Eve. So, the rib came from the side. That's equal. That's the side.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's continue lifting up these young women and keep talking the talk and walking the walk. Because if you do one, you don't do the other, nothing's going to happen.
Exactly. There was I went onto the human diversity website, and that was quite interesting. They had a definition. They said, what is human dignity? And they're like, at the most, the concept of human dignity is the belief that all people hold a special value that's tied solely to their humanity. It has nothing to do with class, race, gender, religion, abilities, or any other factor other than them being human. But then they said this, which is interesting, human dignity. The term dignity has evolved over the years. Originally, the Latin, English, and French words for dignity did not have anything to do with a person's value. It aligned much closer than one's merit, because if someone was dignified, that meant that they had a higher status, a king, a queen, royalty, church, and at the very least, they had money. So for this reason, human dignity never appeared in the US Declaration of Independence or the Constitution. Is that incredible? And the phrase, as we understand it today, wasn't recognized until, goosebumps, and drumroll please, 1948. And it was the United Nations that ratified the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Is that incredible?
Yeah.
So
the men that wrote this Constitution, you have to realize who they were. They were, most of them were slave owners, and they didn't have a feminine bone in their body. And and they're just, the women's suffrage movement, it was 100 years later before that even, Susan B. Anthony even started with that, and she almost went to jail for it. She was fined just for trying to vote. But so it's not any great wonder that it's not in the Constitution, but it needs to be in there now.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, that's why
we still don't have a say about our bodies.
that's why there are
And that
amendments.
alone speaks volumes
Yes.
of how men are still controlling this country. And they don't have, and until men and women as mothers start treating their boys to respect women and to have a different feeling about them, that's where it starts. But and it has to be, you know, the fathers have to start treating their little boys differently. So to give them this side that they need to be more loving and more kind and have a greater awareness of equal rights.
Mhm. And not just towards women, but just for humanity in general, you know,
Yeah.
compassion, bringing the compassion back into it. Lee, I know you're going to say something, and Margie would love to hear from you as well. So Lee, you were going to
Yes.
have something to say to that.
Marjorie, go ahead.
Okay, I've often wondered how short-sighted men, quote unquote, could be. They forget it takes two to create a human being. And, you know, the years of not recognizing the value of women, think of the countries that had a full-scale abortion of female fetuses. Did they ever think that if you keep doing that, what's going to happen? How are you going to catch?
Mutilation and genital mutilation as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was years ago. Where are they thinking?
Now.
I am
Now,
so, yeah, I am
still
so
happening.
with where we are now. I am so thrilled. I have no daughters. I raised two sons, but I had two very good daughter-in-laws. We're very close. I will say, you know, there have been issues in the marriages, but I bonded very well with those two ladies. And I am delighted at the way things are moving forward now, because I will confess, there were times when I wasn't happy being female. I was not happy being a woman. I saw men having all the shots, men having all the opportunities. And in the islands, women were not recognized in my formative years. But things changed. We've had a female prime minister. We have not had a female president yet, but who knows? Who knows with what's going on now in the political area. And women are coming forward now, and they are a force to be reckoned with. And they are, I'm thrilled that we're here now, and we can start sharing in what's the goodness that awaits us all.
Yeah, people need to start seeing past
Celebrate.
gender.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
should be, you know, on their own merits of their, you know, their intelligence and what they, you know, offer to the world.
Right.
I would like to ask each and every one of you if you have ever really experienced gender inequality or, you know, and just an experience, and especially being a Black woman for you, Marjorie, and especially from the islands, or if you know somebody, and each and every, you know, whether it's because of your background, because of your nationality, your color, each of you, we all have something, and how it affected you, or how it shifted you to make change or become more transparent, or maybe even retreat. So go ahead. Who wants to go first? Lee, would you like to?
I haven't personally, you know, been affected so much. I think, I'm sure I have been, but not to my knowledge, as many others before me, probably. But my husband, you know, he's Israeli and he's very old fashioned, but he's also modern. You know, he believes in the women working and things like that. You know, he grew up on a kibbutz, and everyone was very equal in the kibbutz. You know, everyone had their jobs to do. But the women were assigned the typical roles. And, you know, he still says, "What's for dinner?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What are you making?" You know?
Anything.
And may I add, you stepped up and you did something really huge, and which was very, very hard and challenging for somebody to do, was you were raised Catholic and you know, converted to Judaism.
Yeah.
That's a
And
big deal. I
it's
mean,
a big
that's
deal.
breaking out of generational change and
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah, I totally broke something here. But you know, we all have our own path, and that's the thing. So I still have certain things, you know, from growing up, from the way I was raised, but we are our own persons, and that was a big step forward for me. So, and I'm still taking big steps forward, you know, it's just evolving.
mm,
And I believe that's what's happening with women and men. And yeah, so a little bit of old fashioned is okay. I think it's cute, but you know, inside my house, it's okay. You know, what's for dinner, you know, whatever. But I see more equality, and I'm pleased with it. And I know we still have miles to go.
mhm, mhm.
And that's just here, you know, around the world, third world countries, you know, we have millions of miles to go.
Mhm.
So that's why we must continue, you know,
Mhm.
being strong forces for the younger girls and for our friends that are around us, our peers. You know, we need to lift each
Yeah.
other up. I
They
can't
say
say it
that
enough.
North America has the lowest rate of domestic violence against women, but worldwide, 1/3 still suffers abuse.
Oh,
Wow.
interesting.
So
Yeah,
I
in
think
in
it's
this country, we're very progressive. I mean, and you can see it in the young girls. I mean, they don't, you know, in the high school girls and everything. I mean, they all walk around now thinking they're lesbians because they appreciate each other, they love each other, and they're not going to take any crap from the teenage boys like
Right.
I certainly did when I was in high school, you know, and you know, you kind of, you know, always felt like a second class citizen, even
Mhm.
though the way I was raised, I had to stand on my own 2 feet because I, you know, I
talk
went to
about
daycare and I
what,
came home
Mom,
and I
talk
was
about
on my
the
own.
time when you moved from Ohio to South Florida to a local high school and what you went through. That's important to share and how
Yeah,
you felt and what changed you.
yeah. I was raised in a in an all white neighborhood, but I went to a mixed school, and which was very good for me. And when I came to South Florida in 1958, and I went to MacArthur High School. I was in the first graduating class at MacArthur High School.
Class
And
of 83.
they had
Right
portables
up.
in the middle of the
That,
cow pasture, and they had this gymnasium that they just built, and they were very proud of their gymnasium.
Yeah.
And I was in 11th grade at that time, but the boys there, they were having this dedication with this gymnasium, and the boys somehow the race came up, and they said, you know, this is for white kids, and
Wow.
first black kid that comes through this door, we're going to hang him from the rafters. And doesn't matter male or female, we're hanging them from the rafters. And I looked at them and I said, what is wrong with you?
Right.
What is wrong with you? I said, they're just people.
What year did
And
you graduate?
pardon?
What
I
year did you
graduated
graduate?
in 1960.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was in the first graduating class there from MacArthur.
Wow.
But I also,
We had segregated
right
walk.
in Ohio, I rode in the back of the bus. And then, of course, in South Florida, they told me to come to the front of the bus or to get off the bus because that was for just black people was in the back of that bus. Colored people, I'm sorry, colored people was in the back of the bus. And
right.
I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. It was just such a shock to my system that they could see this difference.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had segregated water fountains.
Oh yeah, colored. You know, that was when Dixie at the time had colored fountains and white fountains, and
even with the Seminoles, though, the Seminoles walked around there
well, the
without.
Seminoles were very discriminated against. Yes, because they were their customary clothing that, you know, with the little triangles all sewed together, like intricate little patterns that they had. They were just gorgeous, and all they had were these to raise income from was the alligator wrestling for tourists and pig farms. They used to raise a lot of pigs, and they were just they were treated worse than the colored people because of these pigs and so forth. And the only reason that they got to have money and so forth is because they stood up for themselves. And when they wanted to put that small little casino there out in Hollywood, they wouldn't approve it. The casino wouldn't approve it. And they said, if you don't approve this casino, because we need money for our tribe, the pigs just aren't furnishing enough money. And if you want to, and nobody would hire them. And they said, if you want to prove this, we're not going to let your water lines run under our property any longer, because they were running under 441 to get down to the beach. And that's how they got that casino built. And they were the first tribe in the nation.
Wow.
And they still have not signed a peace treaty with the United States. And now they all, they don't need to. And but that kind of strength, you watch them, and and I would just be in the sidelines, just yay, because, and that's what it takes. And that's what it takes for people to recognize that we're not any different. That we can do this, we can move forward. And you just have to get that spark going in your head, and then with your neighbors and with other women. We're speaking about women. You have to just get that, we can do this. We can raise our daughters to have this strength, because we all have the potential. It's all there. We just never believed that we had it before.
In Jamaica, we didn't have racial discrimination, quote unquote. What we had was class discrimination. So class, yes, there was the it depend on your economic status. And when I grew up, women were not in the workforce in the sense of being CEOs or being in the offices. The roles women played were mostly teachers and nurses. So a female doctor was a rarity. A female politician was a rarity. But there were some here and there. But so women didn't really call the shots during that time. And this is very personal. I'm going to share. I had two great parents. My father was a bit strong and domineering, and I saw the relationship between both parents, and I made a decision just from one particular incident where my father was the only provider financially. So we were pretty well, we were taken care of. But my mother always wanted more house money to run the house. And he refused to give her. He paid the rent, he took care of us, we got clothes, we got lots of cultural exposure. But she would bite her lips and she would shake her head. She wanted more house money. And I made a decision then that I was never going to be financially dependent on a man. So I decided to earn my own money, and it really materialized in that I married a man who did not care two biscuits what I did with my money. It was totally mine. We got the income tax returns. He would just sign the check. He never once asked me what I did with that money. And I'll always be grateful for him for that. So I was truly financially independent. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes we set intentions without even realizing how it's going to be materialized. But I was glad, that was possible.
And it's great because you in your mind and you
Yes.
out in your consciousness that you were not going to marry somebody and be with somebody who was going to control you like that. And,
No.
and that was in your mindset, which is great. So you were proactive moving forward to break the molds. And I think that's what we're doing. And we are cracking the molds, and we have to have courage to do that,
And it goes to what Ginny said before. We might have been raised a certain way. We might have, had a certain mindset growing up, but we can break that.
We can break it. Yeah.
And we really must do that in order to affect change and to keep progress going for young women.
And we can stay angry, because I think at some point, I remember when I had my first, one of my first real jobs out of college, and I was working for a casino in the South Florida area, the Sun Cruz casinos. and it was owned by this guy. It was a Greek company and Greek owned. And I remember I was in sales and marketing at the time, and that was the only position really that they would ever have any woman in. They wouldn't have any woman in anything else. It was so prejudiced against women because it was Greek owned and he had his little posse of Greek men running it. And that was it. I mean, I was lucky. I mean, I ended up getting hired to another casino where it's like, you know what, you have like full reign, you can do whatever you want. But I mean, it was like I was a woman, and that's all that mattered. I was definitely lower standard, no matter what I said and what I did. And I think that if I probably wouldn't even been hired if I was a Black woman, I can guarantee you that, because I don't, now I go back and think about it, I don't think there really was any, so it's, I think that everybody can carry anger, and we don't even realize what we carry in our subconsciousness about being defeated, what people have said to us, how they treated us, whether it's a man or woman, color, gender, whatever. But I think that what's most important is for us to realize is to break that mold again and to be courageous to say, you know what, it doesn't need to stay that way. And you're going to find your people, to find your places, and to know that it's going to change at some point.
Can't do that unless you, there's a couple of things that you have to carry within you. And one of them, I know this because I had, these were obstacles that I had to remove. One of them is self-esteem, and there's so many people children that from broken homes and, in single family and no family, that have this low self-esteem, and that has to be corrected.
That's that courage that I keep talking about. It's the courage.
And then the feeling of, am I worthy? Am I worthy of this? Can I do better? And they don't think that they can do better, and we have to encourage, and education has to be made available to everybody to see if they can do better. And not everybody needs to go to college and needs a higher education. Some people just need to expand their creativity, but in order to do that, they have to just allow themselves to be inspired, and they have to feel this worthiness and this this love for themselves, and able to succeed. And all teachers,
and forgiveness is huge.
We need to teach this in school though, Sherry, and you've been trying to get into schools to teach this to kids, and it's so important that they know this. I mean, they really have to do something in the education system for these lost children who don't get this at home, because so many, and especially girls, just don't get this at home.
No, they don't. And they really
need to be taught on it, and they need to learn this at an early age.
Yeah, and it's the skill set that the parents, raising these children, what they have, their mindset, which shapes and molds their children. So you don't even have to be a child that came from a broken home or had some trauma. There are things throughout all of our lives that happen to us and affect us. And it is the way it's handled within your home, how it's addressed.
Yeah.
And if it's just kind of like, it'll be okay, and then nothing is done about it, it just goes deeper and deeper inside of you.
I mean, how many people have been, molested in their homes, and the mothers couldn't speak up for their daughters, and
that's a trauma for sure.
That's a trauma that continued in the home because the mother was too scared to speak up, or they didn't want to hear it, or it was something that they just couldn't talk about. Right. And and the beatings will continue, abuse or violence until it's either on Me Too or it's I've spoke about it, and you went in deeper. And oftentimes it's like nobody wants to face what we went through because it's painful, but that's where the healing happens. And when we have breakdowns, we have breakthroughs, and that's the biggest thing. And when right now I believe the country is has broken down, and we will have a breakthrough. This is the greatest thing.
Amen.
We will have a breakthrough, and we're going to break through, and I think the world is going to embrace us, but it's going to take a lot of healing and a lot of work to do. And you
There's
know,
a website, Sherry. There's a website called amighty-girl.com.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mighty-girl.com, and it's all about the women. Where they start from ages 4 and up. That they have all this educational material and kids books, and and then even for teenagers and whatever. But on these heroic women that have walked this path and have conquered their fears and have made history. Amelia Earhart, Anne Frank, Eleanor Roosevelt, Helen Keller, Rosie the Riveter. These kind of women, they have these, this is a good source to go and make these books available. And they should be in the library of all the schools for
Yeah.
these young girls to read about this. And
Mhm.
if they don't have anybody in their family to inspire them and encourage them, they could get this from other women from these books. And something may click, something may make that change and that light that spark in them.
I love that. I love that. No, it's a great idea. I think, and then there was you got Carrie, my daughter Carrie, that one book with the girls on it. I don't know if it's a Mighty Girl or something. Remember with all the girls that have came out like 2 years ago. And they did photos of all these girls who have, transformed or did something that made was making a difference in their lives or in somebody's life or just, made it. I can't even think of any examples at the moment. It's just, but it's a great book with a beautiful photo book. Oh, you don't remember it, do you?
I remember that book. Yes, I remember seeing that book.
But it was
Yeah.
called Mighty Girl for some reason.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This whole website is all for girls and all for encouraging and providing this information. They have clothing, they have all kinds of things there. But it's we need to do, but make it more available in the public schools and the libraries. It needs to be brought into those sources.
Because it really does.
The website, of course, I don't even know if they go to libraries anymore. Everything is
Facebook.
online, so I don't know how to get this. That's somebody else's job. I have no idea. But
I was a pre-K teacher up until a few years back, and I really learned so much by watching these girls and boys, and the roles. And there were a lot of role reversals within the classroom every year. It was so interesting, and I just let them be. And I'm telling you, the girls, they're very strong from a young age, many of them, and it needs to be harnessed. And a lot of the boys are more gentle than you'd ever think, and that needs to be harnessed as well. It was an eye opener, and it was like a highlight, for me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the Disney movies are helping with that. They
well, now they are, yeah.
Such a beautiful
Now they
are.
Now they are.
Women heroes. What?
Now they are. They weren't.
Now they are.
Now they
Before
are.
it was, not so, we didn't know that growing up, did we, Sherinata? Thought it was all just Cinderella and bippity boppity boo.
Oh yeah, they were all
dark message in there somewhere.
That's all it was. That's all it was. Exactly.
Yeah, but now it's changed, and now they've really gotten these courageous young girls, and and even in the fantasy movies, there's a lot of women that are the heroes.
We have Wonder Woman. I mean, the superheroes really.
Yeah.
I have to speak up now that you sparked me. That Prince Charming thing. So yeah, I was affected from my childhood thinking I'm going to, meet Prince Charming. And I'm really lucky that I did. But that was like, my parents are from Depression era, and they both come from very old fashioned roots, and you get married and you have children. That's what women do. So yeah, I was greatly affected by it because I had a lot of dreams when I was younger, and I still do. But maybe if I was a guy, I would have been pushed more. And so I was always looking for that Prince Charming. That's the mindset.
That's how we were raised.
That's the Italian mother, old world mindset.
Exactly.
And the German, my father's German. It's the, you will, wow, aha moment here.
Yeah, you will learn how to cook and clean the house, and you will
You will like it.
You'll learn how to be a good wife. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was
Yeah.
told that don't go to college. That's a waste of money. You need to find a good husband.
Right.
And then I
Waste
turn
of-
that around, and you raise Michelle and I as what are you going to do? Don't ever rely on a man for your money, and make
Right.
sure you have your own support, your own support system, your own money,
And to this point, what a difference a decade makes, because your mom is exactly 10 years younger than my mother. Do you understand? It really, we must continue helping these girls to progress forward, to know their worth and work on their self-esteem, and and not just say it's okay, no big deal. No, let's work it through, because you just can't say it's okay, it'll be fine. No, you know what, it's not okay, it's not fine. You really have to address issues as they come up, or it's going to be deep seated and it's going to come out later on.
Yeah.
You
Well,
want
I was such a believer in that. I mean, after the way I was brought up, and my father died when I was a year old, so my mother had to work, and she married a man who was just not loving, and so he just wasn't emotionally there for me, but except to tell me, find a man that loves you, and and you take care of him and he'll take care of you, and don't go to school, it's a waste of time. But from the day I brought both of those babies home, 2 girls, that day I held them in my arms, I started talking to them about how they would educate themselves, how no man would stand in their way, how they would get what they want, how they would be strong, and how they would love their babies and love themselves. Something inside me said, they got to hear that, and I couldn't wait to tell them. So they were just teeny, and I started talking to them. And I never stopped talking.
And no, and you never stop talking. But I think that's what it is, love your babies. And if they're not your babies, it takes a village to raise, an amazing world. And, love the babies that aren't your babies. And, whether they're Black, white, Indian, love the babies, love the children growing up, put your hand out, bring them up. And I think that's the biggest thing for today. And today's message is to go out and, be that person who has love and forgiveness and empathy. And if somebody is hurting, and people are reacting all over the place right now, but honestly, that's because there's something fearful inside of them that's being triggered. And whether it's politics that's triggering them, but there's still pain inside of them of fear of embracing or having something taken away from them, fearing of love or fearing of that something's taken away. And I think that once we really begin to embrace and find that within ourselves, to reach out, is and create forgiveness with the demons inside of us, or whatever it is that's outside of us, and to know that we're not all bad people. It's just what we've learned, and to change this generation.
Well, I gotta say one thing though, because I know we're getting really close to the end here.
There.
So we have this journey of we think it's of our life, but it's more than that. It's a journey of the soul. And the soul, we have no idea how ageless and timeless our soul is. But we can never blame our parents. We can never blame anything. We have to take responsibility for it now and make sure that our soul learns something from this path, that our soul carries something forward that is beautiful and that is loving, that is kind. We can never stop the work. And that's why this book, Letting Go, is so important, because it changes you, it touches your soul, and it makes you bring love into the world. And more than bringing love into the world, you stop the frequencies of discord and disharmony within yourself, so that you are able to bring forward into this world good, positive energy. And you never stop with that work.
That's right. Because, we have to live our lives without regrets. And then moving forward, it's not just this lifetime, it's all of our lifetimes together. And whether you're, going to pearly gates, your judgment is going to finally be however it is that you believe in, lifetimes or just one lifetime. It's irrelevant. What matters is that you leave this earth knowing that you were not judgmental, that you did the best that you could do, and loving, and the highest joy and happiness that you can give to others, and to help others, and to be that one that's going to stand out. And that makes a huge difference, just that mind shift alone. And if you're the one that's in pain, when you begin to realize that, it's like Wayne Dyer would say, it's like, don't die with your story inside of you, with your dance inside of you, with your song inside of you, because guess what, that song is happiness, that song is joy. And if you're in pain, you're going to, we need to heal. That's the bottom line. And I certainly want to invite everybody on for Friday night, Singing and Healing, because we're going to be celebrating. And I am so grateful for this conversation that we had, because it leads us into tomorrow nights, which is celebrating with up to 100 women online, where we can embrace women, freedom, equality, and diversity throughout ourselves and the entire world. And that's going to be a really amazing event. So I will post the information on this as well. So if you want to learn more about it, it's called I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. Happy hour. So it's exciting. And as I
bring our own drinks.
Bring your own drinks, man. It's BYOB. That's right. BYOB is build your own brilliance. But if you want to change that out to BYOB something else, you're welcome to for happy hour, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world, and it will be 5 o'clock here Eastern time.
Somewhere.
I know. I got my vitamin drink.
Well, it's too early in the morning. It's not 5 o'clock yet. So
No.
yes, I will.
Somewhere, but
Somewhere.
it's too early for me, I tell you. Yeah.
Somewhere other than right here. So any final recap? I think for my personal recap, we can all do a 1-minute recap of what you've gotten out of this today. My one recap is truly it's living in forgiveness and healing ourselves so we can heal the world around us, and in beginning to really reach out, and just doing whatever we can to not be closed-minded, and to look for this change. And everybody has an opinion. It doesn't really matter. Nobody wants to hear anybody else's opinion. It's just all learning by example, and embracing this world so it can transform into a better way. That's my 1-minute recap. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Marjorie, you want to go?
My recap is to just stay the course. We are on our way. And I am a member of a group called the Seroptimists, and on women and girls, how to improve their lives. It's a program, and I'll share with you another time. But I feel so much more confidence now, and so much more strength in really encouraging our young women to stay the course, be strong.
I love that.
All the support. We're here for you. And yeah. And just keep, go on, continue.
Create your new story. Your new story is what it's about, right? You're creating your new story, not reliving your old stories.
Right.
Lee?
Thank you.
Thank you, Marjorie.
I think, take care of you, take care of others, and remember to lift others up, and that small eyes are watching and learning, and they're counting on us, and we need to come through, not just for them, but for us and for the world. And, one small step, every little bit of kindness matters. And that song, Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin With Me, that's in my heart. And I think that's what we all need. And that's my opinion.
Yeah. I love that. And Ginny, go ahead.
Yeah. We're just all vessels of possibilities, but we have to know that, and we have to think, put ourselves in and think about what we want and the way we want to move forward in our life. So important to be aware of who you are inside, and so that you're authentic and whatever you do, because one thing that children know, they can tell if you're
Real.
authentic or not for the
Oh,
most
yeah,
part.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And you have to, walk your walk, talk your talk, and be authentic in yourself and be comfortable in your own skin. That for years I just was not comfortable in my own skin. And you have to, you have to do that work inside. And I think that's the most important. We have to be responsible for ourselves, because that's all we really have in the end. That's what we're going to take with us. And that's what we're going to leave behind, is what we were and what we stood for. And you have to be aware that that epitaph is being written every day, and you can change. If you
Our
don't
legacy, our
Mhm.
legacy.
Our legacy.
It is.
Right.
Yep. And the small baby steps are big ones. All that matters is that the first step counts. So you make it a great one. That's always what I say at the end of my videos. And I truly mean it, because, sometimes it's really challenging to make that first step, because sometimes we've been beaten down, in our mind and maybe physically, and, maybe in the workplace, whatever it might be, and, in your homes. And, we still have a lot of healing to do, but we're going to do it. So that's the best part about it, because life is about changing and moving forward. And, I think that staying out of fear is going to be the biggest thing, because nobody's going to take away our true democracy in this world. Nobody's going to take it from us, because that's who we are. And it's just going to keep moving towards more equality, and, gender equality and tolerance, because we have to. It's the way it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Now,
And that's the way it is.
here we go. Amen, everybody.
Beautiful.
Amen, sisters. So with that being said, please definitely join us tomorrow night, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time for I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. And thank you so much, all of you, for being on here today and sharing with us, your experiences and your heartfelt messages, because that makes a big difference for others to hear it as well.
Thank you. It was
Very
awesome.
Thank you. You guys have a
Thank
great
you
day.
for having us.
Have a
You
blessed
too.
day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
good.